I want to now bring in Democratic Congressman Mike Quigley. He's joining us now for more on this out of Illinois. Thank you so much for being here with us, Congressman. I appreciate your time. And I'd love for you just to start talking to us about what this is like for you on a personal level. You were early on in asking him to step down and to pass this torch. Tell us what that was like for you personally at that moment and now where we are today.
Well, first, I think the breaking news is that somebody in D.C. can keep a secret for more than 24 hours, because obviously he knew this was coming. Oh, look, for me, it wasn't about myself. The pressure I felt was I wanted to do it in a, I hoped, respectful and thoughtful way, and I didn't want to do harm to the campaign. But what matters is pragmatic politics of making sure Donald Trump doesn't have a second term in office. So that's the pressure I felt, that whatever I did it in a way that the president knew that we are very grateful for his service, and that others would join soon, hopefully.
And so in gratitude for his service, but also looking forward to the future of the party, you just endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris, saying in part in a tweet here that the party has always been united in defeating Donald Trump and looking forward to the party united to get her elected and prevent this second Trump term. Are other Democrats that you're speaking with planning to rally around her as well and publicly support her as you have?
No, I believe they will. I believe that she'll reach consensus very quickly. Obviously, the fact that she's vice president, she's done a great job. She's a great candidate. But I think there's a tremendous amount of respect and support and appreciation for the selfless act of Joe Biden, the president. And the fact that his second statement today was such a strong endorsement, I think that'll move it along. Second, the person has to be nominated. There's a process, and you need, 10% or more of the signatures of the delegates out there. It's not a small task. I don't think anybody can put together what they need to do to be competition for her. So I think that groundswell support is building. I don't think anyone else feels like they can do it, can accomplish the task at hand. And I believe a virtual vote can take place about the same time it was going to take place for President Biden. And we entered the DNC in Chicago about where we were, with the only change being a different nominee.
I mean, and it is really a significant change there. As we march there towards August, we will all be there in Chicago. But I'm curious, we're hearing right now from sources that are saying just in the last few hours that Vice President Harris is starting to make calls to several Democratic officials, lawmakers, congressional Democrats, governors as well, party officials, even civil rights leaders, really trying to rally support here. Have you received a call yet?
No, but look, I'm farther down the list. My ego doesn't take me that high, but it's music to my ears, because I think that we're going to see a candidate who's a buzzsaw ready to roll. And when I looked at the polls before, as bad news they were, unfortunately for the president, I think we're in a horse race the first day. Will be margin of error within a week. And I think now the focus is entirely where President Biden wanted it, on Trump, on his cognitive issues, on his literal crimes and misdemeanors, and the fact that we ended the Trump presidency, and I was in the room on January 6th, with a violent insurrection. The American people need to put that in focus, and now there is a clean break and an opportunity to do what Democrats have wanted to do all along, and that's the focus on what a good candidate she is and what problems exist with the second Trump presidency.
Well, and at this point, we know she does not have a single delegate at this point. And then to your note that we are marching towards the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. And there's this virtual vote that in all likelihood could take place before that. But we are hearing over and over again that what Democrats don't want here is essentially a coronation, that it's almost as if, and she even said it in her statement herself, that she wants to earn these votes. So how do you see that playing out? And will that go over with not just Democratic voters, but moderate voters and independent voters who felt like they didn't really have a primary? Joe Biden was told to them, this is your nominee. So how does all of that go over for constituents?
Look, I think that's true. There's a legitimacy that has to come with the process. And some of that is simply talking about it and working through it. A couple of things, though. She was elected Vice President of the United States. The delegates who will vote for her were largely elected by people of the United States. And the process that puts her in as nomination was approved democratically by the rules and the process of the Democratic Party. So I think she's doing the right thing, reaching out, recognizing this isn't a coronation. It is a process. It's going to move a little quicker, but I think the fact that she has all those other things in her favor will help a great deal.
And how do you imagine the Democratic Party is getting ready for the Republican reaction to all of this? It has been well documented that Republicans were trying to keep Joe Biden at the top of the ticket. Even during the Republican National Convention, Donald Trump took to social media to say Democrats are trying to get him off the ticket, making it very clear he would have rather faced Joe Biden in November. So how does the Democratic Party now get ready for what Republicans will come at them with?
You know, I think you simply tell the voters, this is what you think it is. Why does meat resist the grinder? They didn't want a former prosecutor going after a convicted felon. They can read polls that showed polls weren't trending the wrong way. They were cascading the wrong way. And they know, the numbers are very different with Vice President Harris as the nominee. And I think that's compounded. We've got the DNC coming with a bump that comes with it, vice presidential candidate, which will come forward as well. So there's a reason they were silent about this, and they wanted President Biden to stay the nominee. For pretty much the same reasons I respectfully asked him to step aside as the nominee, because I thought that the vice president would be a much greater chance, not just for making sure we keep the White House, but keeping the Senate and winning back the House. All those down ballot races were outperforming President Biden in the polls, and those numbers were moving very quickly. There weren't just a few swing states, there were a growing number of swing states. I think that stuff all changes in a hurry and moves in the opposite direction. So that's why they were silenced for the most part, and they sure didn't want to switch.
And let me ask you this about the response from the Democratic Party in concerns that we are hearing from the GOP, and that Vice President Kamala Harris really can be representative of the more progressive part of that party. And I was speaking with some at the Republican National Convention who were going to vote Republican for the first time that just said things like, I miss the old Democrats. I miss the Democrats of yesteryear when it wasn't so divided.
Republicans are fairly divided, but they're just, unfortunately, try to stay uniform. I don't know that it's a strength that the Republicans stay loyal to someone who was impeached twice, tried to incite a bloody insurrection, who has any number of things that could turn your stomach. We would stick with him with that extraordinary loyalty. I don't even know if you call that. I think it's loyalty to a fault. So, look, the Democrats are a big tent. Sometimes it's a tumultuous tent, but I think in the end we represent more Americans than the Republicans do.
And if I may put you on the spot, who do you think that she might bring to run on this ticket with her? We're hearing several names floated out.
Yeah, sure. I'll let her make that decision. I would say this: it's a deep bench. And, I'm loyal to my own governor who's done a great job, J.B. Pritzker. But I'm sure she will pick the person that she can work with and gives her the best opportunity to win in November. I don't think it'll be a senator. The reasons mentioned before, it's virtually a 50-50 Senate, and you don't want to take anybody off that bench.
So looking at some of these Democratic governors across the state. All right, Mike Quigley, thank you so much for spending our time with us, Representative. We really, really appreciate that, and we'll be seeing you here in August when we all head to Chicago. So we appreciate your time.
Welcome to Chicago. Thank you.